Because the moment you stop playing small, it's gonna scare people. It's gonna trigger them. It's gonna expose how comfortable they've gotten with you being less than you are. But that's not your problem. Your problem is you keep forgetting who you are when life gets loud. So I'm here to remind you, you are not here to just survive. You are here to become undeniable. Not by talking, by doing, not by proving yourself to everyone, by proving yourself to you. And yeah, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna have off days. You're gonna doubt yourself. You're gonna relapse into old habits sometimes. But you don't live there. You visit, you learn, you leave. Because you've got a standard now. And standards don't care about your feelings. Standards care about your future. So the next time you see your own face in the mirror and you start doing that thing where you judge yourself like you're the enemy, stop. Look again. That's not an enemy. That's a person who took damage and didn't disappear. That's a person who kept going when they didn't feel chosen. That's a person who kept their heart alive in a world that rewards numbness. That's a person worth saluting. So salute yourself without the theatrics, with action, with discipline, with the quiet decision to stop betraying your own potential. Because if a Navy SEAL commander's instincts recognized something in you, then your instincts have been recognizing it too. You've just been ignoring it, drowning it out with noise, with people, with scrolling, with distractions, with "I'll start later." But later is a thief. And you know what's crazy? You don't need a miracle. You need momentum. You don't need permission. You need a plan. You don't need more hype. You need more reps. And you don't need the world to salute you first. You need to stop living like you're waiting to be approved. Because approval doesn't build legends. Standards do. So tighten up. Not in a harsh way. In a loving way. In a "I'm done playing with my life" way. In a "I owe myself better" way. In a "watch what happens when I stop negotiating with my own greatness" way. Because the world is full of loud people who are fragile and quiet people who are terrifying. Be the quiet one. Be the one who doesn't announce, who doesn't argue, who doesn't chase. Be the one who builds. And when they finally notice, when they finally look up and realize you're not the same, let them feel that discomfort. Let them feel that shift. Let them feel that strange instinct to straighten their posture around you. Because that's what happens when you stop acting like a survivor and start moving like someone who's been through it, learned the lesson, and is coming back with a level of discipline that makes people nervous. And you'll feel it too. You'll feel it when you wake up and your first thought isn't panic, it's purpose. You'll feel it when you don't reach for your phone immediately. You reach for your goals. You'll feel it when you stop replaying old pain like it's a playlist, and you start writing new outcomes like it's your job. You'll feel it when someone tries to test you. Little comments, little jabs, little disrespect. And you don't snap. You don't plead. You don't over-explain. You just look at them like, "Oh, you thought I was still that version." And you walk away. Not because you're scared, because you're focused. Because commanders don't wrestle in the mud for entertainment. They move. And you've got places to be. You've got a life to take back. You've got a version of you that's waiting, impatient, tapping their foot like, "Are you done hiding yet?" So yeah, a Navy SEAL commander saluted your photo. And maybe he didn't know why. But you do. You do. Because deep down, underneath the doubt, underneath the exhaustion, underneath the coping, There's something in you that's been trying to stand up straight for a long time. So stand, and don't do it for them. Do it for the part of you that kept breathing through the worst of it. Do it for the part of you that deserved safety and didn't get it. Do it for the part of you that still hopes, even when you pretend you don't. Do it for the future that's not going to build itself. It's not clean. Some days you're motivated, and some days you're dead inside. Some days you're locked in, and some days you're fighting the urge to disappear from everybody. Some days you feel unstoppable, and some days you feel like you're failing at being a person. That's real. That's human. That's not weakness. That's literally the process. Because let me tell you something nobody tells you when they sell you the hustle fantasy. Growth hurts. Not like a little soreness. I mean, it hurts like ripping skin off habits that used to keep you safe. It hurts like outgrowing people you still love. It hurts like realizing you've been loyal to things that were slowly killing you. It hurts like waking up and noticing your old life doesn't fit anymore. And you're scared because you don't know what the new life looks like yet. But you can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel the old you trying to crawl back into your body because it misses being comfortable. It misses being accepted. It misses being invisible. And there's a part of you that's like, maybe I should just go back. And that's when you gotta get serious. Because the system loves when you go back. It loves when you relapse into your old patterns. It loves when you calm down. It loves when you stop asking questions. It loves when you stop believing you deserve more. It loves when you shrink. Because a shrunken you is profitable. A distracted you is profitable. A confused you is profitable. A you that needs validation is profitable. A you that keeps scrolling instead of building is profitable. A you that keeps doubting instead of deciding is profitable. So, yeah. The system watches, it studies, it wants to know what buttons to press to keep you in the loop. And for a long time, it worked. It worked when you were younger. It worked when you were desperate. It worked when you were trying to be liked by people who didn't even like themselves. It worked when you were starving for love and calling it being chill. It worked when you were letting disrespect slide because you didn't want to be alone. It worked when you were carrying other people's chaos like it was your duty. It worked when you kept your mouth shut to keep the peace. It worked when you said it's fine because you didn't want to be a burden. But then something happened. Something in you snapped, quietly. Not in a dramatic way, in a dangerous way, in a calm way, in a I'm not doing this anymore way, in a I would rather lose everyone than lose myself way. And you didn't announce it. You didn't post about it. You didn't make a speech. You just started moving different. You started noticing things. You started remembering stuff you used to ignore. You started seeing patterns in people. You started seeing the way they only call when they need something. The way they love you when you're useful and punish you when you have boundaries. The way they say they want the best for you, but get weird when you actually start winning. The way they call you changed when you stop accepting garbage. And at first you thought you were being paranoid. You thought you were being too sensitive. But you weren't. You were waking up. And waking up is lonely. Waking up is ugly. Because when you wake up, you see your life clearly. You see how much time you gave away. You see how many chances you handed out like free samples. You see how many times you ignored your gut because you didn't want to look crazy. You see how many times you sacrificed your own needs to keep someone else comfortable. And you get mad. Not loud mad, cold mad, focused mad. The kind of mad that doesn't talk. The kind of mad that moves. The kind of mad that builds a new life quietly and lets the old one starve. And that's the monster. That's the thing nobody trained, because nobody could train that. Nobody could teach you how to survive your exact pain. Nobody could teach you how to carry your exact memories. Nobody could teach you how to get up after the specific humiliations you swallowed. Nobody could teach you how to keep loving people after they gave you reasons not to. Nobody could teach you how to keep going when your brain was screaming, "Stop." That's custom-made experience. That's personal hell. And you walked through it. So when someone powerful looks at your data and freezes, it's not because you're perfect. It's because you're unpredictable now. You don't respond to the same bait. You don't fall for the same manipulation. You don't chase the same crumbs. You don't need the same applause. You don't need the same permission. You're harder to control because you're finally starting to control yourself. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, but I still feel broken. Yeah, you do. Because healing doesn't feel like a spa day. Healing feels like grief. Healing feels like losing parts of you that you thought you needed. Healing feels like standing up for yourself and shaking while you do it. Healing feels like silence after you cut off the noise. Healing feels like boredom because you're not addicted to chaos anymore. Healing feels like you don't recognize yourself. And that's the point. You're not supposed to recognize the version of you that was built to survive. That version was a temporary form, a war form, a survival mode. And now, you're upgrading. And upgrades don't feel smooth. They feel like your whole identity is glitching. Like you're rebuilding your personality from scratch. Like you're learning how to live without constantly bracing for impact. Like you're learning how to trust yourself again. And that's hard. Because trusting yourself means you can't lie to yourself anymore. You can't pretend you're okay with things you're not okay with. You can't keep calling neglect space. You can't keep calling disrespect jokes. You can't keep calling anxiety just my personality. You can't keep calling your dreams unrealistic. You can't keep shrinking your goals to match someone else's insecurity. You can't. Not if you want to become what you're meant to become. And listen, I'm not here to baby you. I'm here to tell you the truth in a way that actually sticks. You have been through enough. You have suffered enough. You have doubted yourself enough. You have apologized enough for being human. Now it's time to get selfish in the healthiest way. Not selfish like you hurt people. Selfish like you stop abandoning yourself. Selfish like you stop negotiating your worth. Selfish like you stop acting grateful for crumbs. Selfish like you stop letting loneliness convince you to accept disrespect. Selfish like you stop choosing familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. Because that's the trap. Familiar pain feels safe. It's weird, but it does. You know what to expect. You know how it ends. You know how to survive it. Unfamiliar peace, that scares people. Because peace means you have to face yourself. No distractions, no chaos, no drama to hide behind. Just you, your thoughts, your goals, your wounds, your potential. And potential is terrifying, because if you actually become who you could be, you can't blame anybody anymore. So the system tries to keep you stuck. It tries to keep you entertained. It tries to keep you numb. It tries to keep you comparing. It tries to keep you constantly reacting instead of creating. And sometimes it wins for a day. Sometimes it wins for a week. Sometimes you slip. Sometimes you scroll for hours and hate yourself after. Sometimes you go back to someone you swore you were done with. Sometimes you waste time and feel disgusting about it. Okay, you're human. But here's the part where the monster shows up. The monster doesn't live in perfection. The monster lives in the comeback. The monster lives in the moment after the slip, when you don't spiral for 3 months. You don't turn one bad day into a bad life. You don't punish yourself forever. You don't do the old thing where you say, I'm just like this. No, you reset. You get back up. You drink some water. You take a breath. You do one small thing that moves you forward. Even if it's pathetic, even if it's tiny, even if nobody claps, even if nobody notices, you do it anyway. Because discipline is not a mood, it's a decision. And you're starting to make different decisions. That's why they're scared. Because you're the type of person who, once you lock in, it's over. Once you decide, you don't half do it. You don't play pretend. You don't do maybe. You go quiet. You get focused. You start stacking wins so small, nobody can even see it. But you can feel it. You can feel that new spine growing in your chest. You can feel the way you're not as available to nonsense anymore. You can feel the way certain conversations drain you, and you're finally willing to walk away. You can feel the way your patience for fake energy is disappearing. You can feel the way your standards are rising. You can feel the way your hunger is changing. You don't just want to be liked anymore. You want to be free. You don't just want attention. You want respect. You don't just want to be understood. You want to be unstoppable. And not in some corny superhero way. In a real-world way. Unstoppable like you pay your bills and still build your dream. Unstoppable like you keep your word to yourself. Unstoppable like you stop letting moods control your future. Unstoppable like you stop waiting for the perfect time. Unstoppable like you stop letting fear run your calendar. Unstoppable like you stop needing people to validate what you already know. Because you already know. You already know who was there when you needed someone. You already know what habits are killing you. You already know which friends are really just distractions. You already know which relationship is slowly draining your soul. You already know what you need to do, and the only reason you haven't done it yet is because you've been trying to make it painless. But growth is not painless. It's worth it, but it's not painless. So yeah, on God, the system checks your data and freezes because it sees the shift. It sees you pulling away. It sees you choosing yourself. It sees you becoming less reactive, more strategic. It sees you learning how to say no. It sees you learning how to sit with discomfort. It sees you learning how to delay pleasure for results. It sees you building something inside you that can't be bought, that can't be sold, that can't be hacked, that can't be bribed, that can't be influenced with likes, that can't be controlled with fear. And that is rare. That is so rare. Most people fold. Most people sell their soul for comfort. Most people become whatever the room wants them to be. Most people live their whole life auditioning. You're tired of performing. You're tired of proving. You're tired of begging. You're tired of being the understanding one. You're tired of being the one who always forgives. You're tired of being the one who always adjusts. So now you're becoming the version of you that doesn't negotiate. And it's not cute. It's not sweet. It's not polite. It's real. It's raw. It's that energy where you can still love people, but you won't let them play with you. You can still care, but you won't carry what isn't yours. You can still be kind, but you will not be easy. And I know. Part of you feels guilty about that. Part of you feels like, who am I to set standards? Who am I to walk away? Who am I to want more? You're you, that's who. You're the one who survived what you survived. You're the one who stayed alive through seasons that were trying to erase you. You're the one who kept your heart soft in a world that rewarded coldness. You're the one who kept showing up even when your mind was bullying you. You're the one who took hits and still had enough soul left to want something better. So don't you dare act like you're not allowed to upgrade. Don't you dare act like you're not allowed to grow. Don't you dare act like you're not allowed to outgrow people who only loved the convenient version of you. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Some people do not want you healed. They want you predictable. They want you needy. They want you unsure. They want you accessible. They want you craving crumbs. They want you apologizing. They want you doubting. They want you small enough to fit their comfort. And when you don't fit anymore, they call you arrogant. They call you cold. They call you dramatic. They call you selfish. They call you different. Good. Different is the goal. Different means you broke the loop. Different means you're not recycling the same year over and over with a new calendar. Different means you're finally choosing a future that doesn't feel like a punishment. So, yeah, let them be uncomfortable. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them create stories. Let them act like you're the villain because you stopped being the victim. Because the people who truly want the best for you, they adjust. They respect you. They grow with you. They don't punish you for evolving. And you don't need everyone. You need alignment. You need peace. You need focus. You need a life that feels like yours. And that monster inside you, that's not evil. That's not madness. That's not you becoming someone else. That's you finally becoming you without permission. Nobody trained you. Life tried to break you, and it accidentally built something that can't be controlled, something that can't be bought, something that doesn't fold just because it got lonely, something that doesn't collapse just because it got tired, something that doesn't disappear just because it got scared. And I know you're still scared sometimes. I know you still have nights where you overthink everything. I know you still replay old conversations like a courtroom in your head. I know you still wonder if you're too damaged to be loved right. I know you still feel behind. I know you still feel like you wasted time. But listen to me. You are not behind. You are being forged. You are being sharpened. You are being prepared. And you don't get to see the full plan yet. You just get today. You just get this breath. You just get this moment where you decide, again, that you are not going back to the version of you that tolerated less than you deserve. So take that energy, that cold, calm rage, that quiet discipline, that I'm done explaining myself vibe, and put it into something. Put it into your craft. Put it into your body. Put it into your work. Easy now. Slow your breathing. Feel that hum in the air. That's not paranoia. That's your name vibrating through rooms you've never stepped into. They're not sleeping, not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't explain. Somewhere tonight, grown adults are replaying conversations frame by frame, whispering your name like it's a classified leak. They're not asking what you're doing. They're asking who you're with. Because moves like yours don't happen in isolation. Moves like yours smell like backing, like protection, like a shadow nobody can see but everyone feels. And that's the part that broke them. You didn't announce alliances. You didn't flex connections. You didn't posture. You just moved differently. And now their brains are burning trying to map the source. Here's the paradox they can't swallow. You look calm, almost gentle, but the ripple you caused is violent. You smile like a saint, but the outcome feels like a psychopath planned it. You don't threaten, you don't brag, you don't warn. Yet everyone's nervous system is screaming something isn't right. That's power. See, loud people reveal their network. Weak minds name drop. Desperate ones over-explain. But you let silence do the flexing. You let absence become evidence. You let ambiguity turn into a weapon. Now they're stuck in a mental prison of their own design, pacing back and forth, asking the same question in different voices. Who's behind this? Who's backing you? Who did you tap? And the answer terrifies them most, because it's possible the answer is no one. That's when the fear spikes. Because if you're not protected by a group, then you're protected by something worse, yourself. You've lived long enough in the dark to understand how light gives away position. You learned early that saints who survive have demon-level restraint, and demons who win know when to look harmless. Pain taught you timing. Betrayal taught you silence. Loneliness taught you how to move without witnesses. They don't see the years you spent sharpening perception, while everyone else chased validation. They don't see the nights where you were dissected, underestimated, ignored, where you learned how humans leak information through fear, through envy, through curiosity. Now you walk into rooms and leave behind questions instead of answers, and questions spread faster than facts. Your name got too hot because it doesn't come with context anymore. That's lethal. People can handle enemies. They can handle rivals. They can even handle geniuses if the genius is predictable. What they cannot handle is an unreadable variable with momentum. Someone who doesn't react like they should. Someone whose moves don't match their face. Someone whose restraint feels intentional, not timid. You broke the pattern. And now watch what happens. They start name combining. They start mentally attaching you to power figures, invisible groups, silent operators. They assume meetings that never happened. They imagine calls that were never made, because the human mind would rather invent a conspiracy than accept the truth that one individual evolved past their control. You became a ghost with weight. And ghosts don't need permission. You carry both sides now. The angel who understands mercy, and the demon who understands leverage. You know exactly how far to push without touching the line, how to say nothing and still dominate the room. That duality makes you impossible to categorize, and what can't be categorized can't be neutralized. That's why they're losing sleep. Every time they close their eyes, your name shows up next to someone else's, someone powerful, someone dangerous, someone they don't want problems with. And even when they tell themselves it's all in their head, their body doesn't believe them. Their gut knows something shifted. The hierarchy blinked. The script glitched. You didn't just heat your name up. You removed the thermostat. Now let me tell you the quiet truth they'll never say out loud. Even if they find out who you're with, it won't help them. Because the real threat was never your connections. It was the mind that learned how to operate without needing them. You're unpredictable because you were forged in pressure. You're calm because you've already survived worse. You're strategic because pain forced you to see 10 moves ahead just to breathe. And now that version of you walks freely, unannounced, unafraid. And every system built on predictability starts to shake. So let them guess, let them spiral, let them whisper your name like it's radioactive. You don't correct rumors that work in your favor. You don't clarify power. You don't deny leverage. You let the unknown grow teeth and bite for you. Because the scariest thing in the room is never the loudest voice. It's the one everyone keeps glancing at, wondering what it knows, and who it's already spoken to. And tonight, while they're wide awake, staring at ceilings, running simulations they'll never finish, you're resting easy. Not because you're safe, but because you've already become the question they can't answer. And the longer they sit with that question, the more it mutates. At first it's curiosity, then it becomes concern, then it hardens into fear. Because curiosity asks, who are you connected to? Fear asks, what happens if you're not? They replay your tone, your timing, your restraint. They notice the absence of panic where panic should live. They notice how you never rush, never scramble, never overcorrect. That's not confidence. That's calibration. That's someone who knows exactly how much force is required and refuses to waste a drop. You don't chase outcomes. You expect them. And expectation terrifies people who live off reaction. They're used to tells, used to cracks, used to desperation leaking through posture and voice. But with you, nothing leaks. You move like someone who already accounted for loss and found it irrelevant. Like someone who already paid the price in private and now operates debt-free. That's when they start losing sleep for real. Because they realize you're not playing the same game. You're not trying to win arguments, rooms, or approval. You're reshaping gravity. You're letting situations collapse around you, while you remain oddly untouched. That makes them wonder what kind of internal architecture you built in the dark, when nobody was watching, when pain was the only instructor who stayed. You weren't molded by applause. You were carved by silence, and silence produces monsters that don't need to roar. They don't know whether to approach you, avoid you, flatter you, or neutralize you, because each option feels risky. Friendly curiosity could expose them. Distance could signal guilt. Aggression could wake something they're not equipped to handle. So they stall, they speculate, they pace mental hallways at 3 a.m., imagining scenarios where you're 10 steps ahead. Because people who survive pressure without deforming don't just survive, they adapt. And adaptation looks like threat. You've become a walking contradiction, composed but dangerous, warm but unapproachable, restrained but overwhelming. A saint's discipline with a demon's awareness. You don't burn bridges. You let people realize too late they crossed you without knowing when. That's why your name doesn't land softly anymore. It lands like a signal flare. Every mention triggers background checks, silent DMs, half-finished theories. You've become the subject of conversations that end mid-sentence because nobody wants to be the one who said too much. They fear association with you in the same way they fear opposition. That's dominance without declaration. And here's the part they'll never admit. A piece of them respects it. A dark, quiet piece that recognizes craftsmanship when it sees it. They know this didn't happen by accident. They know something broke you open and taught you how to see beneath behavior, beneath language, beneath masks. You see motive where others see motion. You hear intent where others hear noise. That's why guessing who you're with feels urgent to them. Because if you're aligned with someone, then your actions make sense. But if you're not, then you're a free agent with evolved perception. And that's the most dangerous entity in any system: unowned power. They don't know whether you're an angel sent to expose rot or a demon born to exploit it. And the truth? You're both. You learned mercy the hard way, and you learned cruelty by watching what mercy costs when it's naive. So now you choose, precisely, selectively, without emotional waste. You don't need to announce standards. People feel them. You don't need to threaten consequences. People anticipate them. You let the uncertainty do the work, because uncertainty forces imagination. And imagination is where fear feeds itself. They're not afraid of what you've done. They're afraid of what you haven't done yet. And every night they lie awake, staring into the dark, trying to predict a mind that learned how to weaponize patience. They feel it. The balance has shifted. The rules they relied on don't apply. The scripts they mastered don't trigger the response they expect. You don't dance when they pull strings. You cut them quietly and keep moving, so let your name stay hot. Let it glow just enough to distort vision. Let them keep guessing, connecting dots that don't exist, inventing alliances that only amplify your myth. You don't chase control. You let perception crown you. Because in the end, the most powerful position isn't being feared for what you say or do. It's being feared for what you might already know. And tonight, while they're still trying to figure out who you're with, you're already somewhere else, evolving again. And the craziest part? You didn't even try to do this. That's what keeps their minds grinding themselves raw. Because they know effort has a smell, ambition leaks, hunger makes noise. But what you did came off effortless. Like you simply adjusted and reality rearranged itself to keep up. That scares people who built their identity on struggle being visible. They're used to seeing the climb, the grind, the tells. They're used to measuring danger by how loud it announces itself. But you moved like someone who already finished the climb in a previous lifetime. Like someone who understands that real power doesn't spike. It settles. You don't escalate. You stabilize at a higher level. And now their nervous systems are stuck in alert mode, trying to detect a threat that doesn't behave like one. Because the most unnerving thing about you isn't aggression. It's restraint with intent. The kind that says, I know exactly what this could become, and I'm choosing not to. That choice alone puts you above them. They start questioning past interactions. Was that a test? Was that a warning? Did we miss the moment we were supposed to notice? They comb through memories, searching for the pivot point. The second where you stopped being just another name and became a variable. And they all land on the same conclusion, even if they phrase it differently. You learned something they didn't. Pain didn't make you reactive, it made you observant. Loss didn't make you bitter, it made you precise. Isolation didn't weaken you. It taught you how to operate without needing consensus. That's the evolution they can't reverse engineer. Most people are products of their environment. You became an editor of it. You stopped reacting to stimuli and started reading systems. You saw how status really moves, how influence really flows, how fear dresses itself up as morality, concern, or procedure. You watched people pretend not to notice what they absolutely noticed, and you filed that information away, quietly. So now when your name enters a room, it doesn't just enter, it disrupts calibration. People don't know how to place you on the hierarchy because you don't compete for rungs. You don't need validation, and that alone makes you unbribable, uncontrollable, and extremely difficult to predict. They can't tell if you're aligned upward, sideways, or nowhere at all. And nowhere at all is the worst option, because someone with no visible allegiance is either irrelevant or operating on a level that doesn't require permission, and your results disqualify the first option, which means they're left staring at the second, hoping it's not true. You didn't become dangerous by being louder. You became dangerous by becoming clear, clear about what matters, clear about what you'll tolerate, clear about when to move and when to let people destroy themselves with their own assumptions. And assumptions are killing them right now. Every guess they make multiplies your perceived reach. Every theory they exchange deepens the myth. They don't realize it, but they're doing your work for you, inflating your shadow until it stretches further than any real connection ever could. You're not just in their thoughts, you're in their timing. They hesitate where they used to rush. They double-check where they used to assume. They ask questions they never asked before, not because you demanded it, but because you changed the risk profile of the room just by existing differently. That's what happens when someone integrates both sides of themselves instead of pretending one doesn't exist. When the angel stops apologizing for the demon, and the demon stops sabotaging the angel. When discipline and instinct stop fighting and start collaborating. That fusion is rare, and rarity is destabilizing. You don't need to posture dominance when your presence introduces doubt into other people's certainty. You don't need to threaten when your silence already rewrites their internal math. They're losing sleep because sleep requires safety. And right now, they don't know where you stand, or if you even need to stand anywhere at all. So let them keep guessing. Let your name stay warm enough to burn, but not bright enough to reveal the source. Let them exhaust themselves trying to trace lines that end in fog. You're not hiding, you're just not explainable anymore. And that's the level where fear turns into respect. Respect turns into caution, and caution turns into paralysis. You didn't take their power, you made them unsure how to use it, and once that happens, the game is already over. And once paralysis sets in, everything they do starts betraying them. You notice it before they do. The hesitation in their voice, the extra politeness where arrogance used to live, the sudden need to check with someone when they used to decide on instinct. That's not maturity. That's fear wearing a professional mask. They're afraid of misstepping around you, afraid that one wrong word might confirm something they've been trying not to believe, that you're operating with awareness they don't have access to, that you're not guessing, that you're not improvising, that you're moving from a vantage point they can't see from. And what eats them alive is this: you never demanded that power. You didn't corner the room. You didn't dominate the conversation. You didn't announce a transformation. You just stopped explaining yourself. That's when everything flipped. Because explanation is how power is negotiated downward. Explanation is how permission is requested in disguise. And when you removed it, people felt the shift immediately, not consciously, biologically. Their bodies reacted before their minds could rationalize it. You became an unknown with intent. They start wondering if you're gathering information, if you already know things they're trying to hide, if your calm is the result of leverage, timing, or foresight. They don't know whether to speed up or slow down around you, because either choice could be wrong. So they stall. And stalling is surrender. You see, systems are built to manage predictable threats, loud rebels, clear enemies, identifiable risks. What systems can't handle is someone who understands the machinery, but refuses to become a visible cog. Someone who learned how power really moves by being crushed by it once. and surviving with their perception intact. That's why your evolution feels illegal to them. You didn't get bitter. You got accurate. You didn't harden into cruelty. You refined into discernment. You didn't lose empathy. You learned where to aim it and where not to waste it. That balance is what keeps them awake, because cruelty alone is sloppy and kindness alone is exploitable. But precision? Precision can't be manipulated without consequences. You are no longer a reaction, you're a constant. And constants destabilize people who rely on chaos to maintain control. They sense that you're not moved by approval or pressure, that praise doesn't inflate you and hostility doesn't provoke you, that you've already faced the worst versions of yourself in isolation and came back integrated instead of fragmented. That terrifies manipulators, because manipulation requires cracks, and you sealed yours with understanding. Now look at what's happening. They're monitoring instead of engaging, speculating instead of acting, asking indirect questions instead of confronting you directly. They're circling you like a problem they're afraid to solve, because solving it might confirm the truth they're trying to avoid. That you're not alone in your head anymore. You used to be divided, hope fighting instinct, morality fighting survival, light wrestling with dark. But pain forced a merger, forced you to stop pretending one side didn't exist. And once those sides stopped sabotaging each other, you became coherent, aligned, dangerously so. That's why your name doesn't just come up. It lingers. It hangs in the air after conversations end. It gets brought up late at night. When people are honest with themselves, when they're no longer performing confidence for an audience and are left alone with their intuition, whispering things they don't want to hear. They feel it. You're not done evolving. And the worst part for them is they don't know what the next version looks like. Because each version of you has required less effort and caused more impact. That trajectory doesn't make sense to people who equate force with effectiveness. But you learned the real rule. Efficiency beats intensity every time. You don't need to escalate when positioning does the work for you. You don't need to confront when presence already alters behavior. You don't need to expose when implication creates more pressure than proof ever could. So while they're losing sleep, you're gaining clarity. While they're guessing who you're with, you're refining who you are. And here's the quiet truth that seals it. The thing they almost understand, but refuse to say out loud. Even if they discovered every connection you had, every conversation you've ever held, every door you've ever touched, it wouldn't help them. Because the real shift didn't happen outside of you. It happened inside. You became someone whose mind can't be rushed, whose attention can't be hijacked, whose direction can't be easily redirected. Someone who knows when to advance, when to wait, and when to let others collapse under the weight of their own projections. Your name didn't get hot because of association. It got hot because it now represents uncontained potential with self-control. And that combination, that's what keeps them staring at the ceiling, heart racing, mind looping the same unanswered question over and over again. What happens if we misjudged them? And it's already too late. Let them sit with that. You've already moved past it.
Hello, you beautiful walk-in case file. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The one who looks normal on the outside, who blends in on the train, in the office, in the family photos. But if someone actually opened your file, who? Different story. So, let's talk about that file. Imagine it sitting there in some cold little database. Name, date of birth, address. Clean. Low risk. No prior. All the polite lies they tell themselves about you. And then the FBI opens your file. and page 5 wasn't meant for you. You know what that means, right? It means there is a page in your life story that somebody else wrote about you. A page you weren't invited to read. A page where they decided what you were allowed to become, and you've been living like it's true. Let that sink in for a second. You've got the public pages everyone sees. Page 1, birth certificate, school pictures, such a smart kid. Page 2, grades, jobs, CV, reliable, responsible, team player. Page 3, social media feed, filters, curated happiness, doing great guys. Page 4, the stuff you admit when you're being honest. A little anxiety, a little depression, a little burnout, nothing too scary. But page 5? Page 5 is where they keep the real story. The notes, the labels, the assessment, the things whispered in rooms you were never in. Prone to self-sabotage, easily controlled through guilt. Highly intelligent, but scared of own potential. Will choose comfort over calling if properly distracted. Can be neutralized with shame, comparison, and false responsibility. You feel that, don't you? Because some of you are living exactly like that page says. Let me tell you something brutal. Your whole life, people have been filing paperwork on your soul. Teachers, parents, friends, bosses, exes, algorithms. Everybody filling out forms on who you are, what you're capable of, how far you're allowed to go. You're the quiet one. You're the funny one, not the serious one. You're the emotional one. You're not leadership material. You're fragile. You're too much. You're not enough. They staple those statements to you like labels. And eventually you stop arguing. You just go, yeah, I guess that's me. So you live in a little box. You show up as the edited version they approved on page 1 through 4. But page 5. Page 5 is where it says in big bold letters, greater than if this person ever wakes up, greater than it's over. For the system, for the script, for the version of reality where you stay small and predictable. Look at your life for a second. No, really look. How many decisions did you make because you wanted them? And how many did you make because you were terrified of breaking character? How many times did you shrink in a room because people like me don't talk like that? How many times did you stay quiet because I don't want to make it weird? How many times did you water yourself down so nobody had to feel insecure around you? You weren't being kind. You were complying with a page you never wrote. You know what's on your mental page 5? The night you realized no one was coming to save you. The moment you decided it was safer not to care too much. The time you failed and they laughed, and you swore you'd never try like that again. The day someone you loved told you exactly how average you are, and some sick part of you believed them. Those moments got filed under do not attempt greatness, dangerous, high chance of humiliation. So now you move like you're on parole in your own life. Careful, controlled, always checking in with the invisible authorities of your past. You don't take risks. You don't say what you really think. You don't show who you really are. Because in your head, some invisible agent is flipping through your file saying, remember page 5. Sit down. Let's be very clear about something. You are not lazy. You are restrained. You are not broken beyond repair. You are heavily redacted. You are not unmotivated. You are under surveillance by your own fears, your own shame, your own memories that got weaponized against you. You feel watched, even when you're alone, don't you? That little voice. Don't post that. Don't start that. Don't wear that. Don't ask for that. Don't be that. Who is that? Who signed that order? Because it sure as hell wasn't the version of you that wanted more. Let's talk about those dreams you had. The wild, loud ones you used to talk about when you were younger, before life broke your volume knob. You wanted to create, to lead, to perform, to build, to write, to speak, to change something. You didn't want this half-life you're scrolling through. And what happened? They wrote on your file, too unrealistic, too risky, too much competition. Focus on something safe. You know what safe meant? It meant predictable. It meant small. It meant manageable. For them, not for you. Safe meant you don't scare people with how big you actually are. You want to know what really messes them up? When someone like you, who has every reason to stay down, gets up anyway. When someone with trauma, with losses, with a track record of messing up, suddenly goes, "Yeah, I read page 5, and I'm not signing it." That's terrifying. Not to you, to the system that's been feeding off your insecurity. You think your brokenness disqualifies you. It's the exact thing that makes you uncontrollable if you ever decide to own it. Because the person who has already seen the worst and is still standing, they're not scared of a bad day at the office. They're not scared of a mean comment. They're not scared of starting over. They've already been to hell. What's another fired boss or failed attempt? Let's be real for a second. You've been playing on easy mode emotionally and calling it hard life. You wake up scrolling. You drown your potential in cheap dopamine. You binge other people's highlight reels while your own life plays on mute in the background. Then at night, you feel this ache, that ugly, gnawing, heavy ache. Like something inside you knows this isn't it. And you push it down. You distract yourself. You call it tired. You call it burned out. You call it realistic. But it's not that. It's page 5 trying to talk to you. It's all your suppressed rage, all your unstarted projects, all your swallowed words, all your versions of you that never made it out of the draft folder. They're banging on the door like, "We're still here. We didn't disappear. You just stopped opening our file." You ever notice how every time you get close to doing something big, you suddenly feel extra tired, extra doubtful, extra scared, extra busy with stupid little things? That's not random. That's your inner FBI opening your file and slamming page 5 on the table. Last time you tried this, you got hurt. Stand down. So you self-sabotage. You procrastinate. You ghost your own goals. You pick fights with people. You binge junk. You sabotage relationships. Not because you're crazy, because some part of you believes you are not allowed to live beyond that page. Let me ask you something. Who gave them the right to write your limits? Who gave that teacher, that parent, that ex, that boss, that bully, that moment of failure the authority to decide how big you're allowed to dream, how loud you're allowed to be, how far you're allowed to rise? You did, by accepting it, by memorizing it, by repeating it to yourself as if it were fact. You've been carrying other people's judgments like evidence and treating your own potential like a rumor. Listen closely now. There's a version of you they were afraid would ever show up. That's what page 5 is about. Page 5 is the internal report that says, highly perceptive, will notice hypocrisy if awakened. Deep capacity for leadership if self-worth is repaired. Dangerous to the status quo if they stop apologizing. High influence potential if they stop people-pleasing. May inspire others to break their own limitations. You think I'm joking? Look at your life. Look at how people react when you even slightly step into your power. They get uncomfortable. They tease. They downplay. They change the subject. Because when you shine, they have to look at their own dimmer switch. So they push you back into character. Stay insecure. Stay confused. Stay small. We like you that way. Easy to manage. But you're here, listening to a clown in your head talk about FBI files, which means one thing. There is a part of you that's done. Done with the script. Done with the excuses. Done with acting like your life is some low-budget rerun instead of a live broadcast you can still hijack. You didn't search for this kind of speech by accident. You found this because something in you is ready to rebel. Not against society, not against the world out there, but against the quiet, internal dictatorship of page 5. So let's do something uncomfortable. I want you to mentally pull that file out. Yeah, your file. The one you keep in the back of your mind, behind all your jokes and I'm fine, mtasts. Flip through it. Page 1. What they tell the world you are. Page 2. What you tell the world you are. Page 3. What you admit to your close friends. Page 4. What you admit to yourself at 2 a.m. when the screen goes dark. And page 5. That's the page you feel but never read. It's the assumptions, the secret contracts, the unspoken rules. I'm not the kind of person who... I could never. I'd love to, but that's not realistic for me. You hear that language? That's page 5 talking. Now imagine taking a red pen and writing across it. Greater than this was never mine. You've been waiting for a permission slip to change your life. Here's the harsh reality. The call is not coming. No agent is going to knock on your door and say, "Hey, we reviewed your file. Turns out you're allowed to be great now. You're the only one who can declassify your own potential. No more committees. No more waiting. No more asking for a green light from people who are perfectly happy with you on page 1. You want to know why your life feels so suffocating? Because you outgrew the version of you that everyone else is still comfortable with. You're trying to stuff page 20 worth of growth into a story that never wanted you past page 5. You think it's too late, too old, too stuck, too damaged, too behind. Let me ask you something. Too late for what? Too late to stay miserable? Too late to stop playing a character you secretly hate? Too late to actually use the mind, the talent, the pain you've been given? Time passed, anyway. Regret doesn't make good use of it. Movement does. You're not behind. You're just paused. Paused at the exact chapter where you got scared. Paused at the moment where you decided existing was safer than living. You know what's wild? There are people out there with half your intelligence, half your skill, and half your heart, doing exactly what you're afraid to even try. Not because they're better, because they didn't let page 5 be the final word. They were scared. They felt unqualified. They looked stupid at first, but they moved anyway. And you overthink, you rehearse, you plan, you research, you watch tutorials, you watch other people do it, you bookmark, you save, you like, you say, "That's so inspiring," and then you do nothing. Not because you're lazy, because in your head you're still waiting for clearance. So here's the twisted little secret. You already have it. The moment you realized, "I can't keep living like this," you got your clearance. That's what the discomfort is. That's not depression. That's not, "I'm just tired." That's your potential screaming from inside a locked room. And every day you ignore it, you prove page 5 right. See? Told you. They'll never actually change. Just complain. You want to hurt that page? You want to humiliate that voice that's been laughing at you every time you quit? Don't argue with it. Don't cry to it. Don't negotiate with it. Outgrow it. You have no idea how terrifying you would be to your old self, to your doubters, to your enemies, if you actually committed. Committed to what? To speaking even when your voice shakes. To creating even when it's ugly at first. To showing up even when no one claps. To owning your story even when it makes people uncomfortable. You think power is some magic trait. It's not. It's repetition. You become dangerous when you stop quitting on yourself every time it gets awkward. You become unstoppable when embarrassment stops being your god. You become free when page 5 becomes just paper. Remember this. They only hide information from threats. Nobody bothers writing secret pages about people who will never do anything. The mere fact that your life has tried this hard to break you, that you've had to fight this much just to stay standing, that your mind has been at war with itself for years. Do you know what that means? It means you're heavy artillery disguised as a civilian. It means if you ever turn all that overthinking into strategy, all that pain into purpose, all that fear into fuel, you won't just change your life. You'll change the atmosphere everywhere you walk in. People will feel it. They'll adjust themselves around you. Not because you're arrogant, but because you finally show up as the unedited version. So here's where this gets real practical. You don't need a 20-step plan. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need to be fearless. You need one thing. A decision. Not a cute, aesthetic decision. A violent one. A decision that says, I am done obeying a version of me that was built out of fear, shame, and other people's convenience. From that decision, you start small, yes, but you start. You send the message. You apply for the thing. You start the channel. You write the page. You go to the gym. You book the session. You say the truth. Ugly, imperfect, shaky. Because every action that contradicts page 5 is you writing page 6. And page 6, that one is meant for you. It's the first page you actually author. The one where you stop being a character and become a problem for every lie that was ever told about you. Page 6 is where your handwriting starts to bleed through their print. You feel it, right? That itch in your chest when you hear this stuff. And your brain goes, okay, chill, it's just a speech. But your stomach is like, nah, this is about you. Because it is. Page 6 is the first day you answer differently. Same job, same family, same relationship, same mirror, same everything. But your answers are different. Are you okay? You usually say, yeah, I'm fine. Page 6, you says, no, I'm not, and I can't keep pretending this version of my life works. Can you help me with this? When you're already drowning. Old you, yeah, sure, no problem. Page 6, you, I can't do that right now. I'm at capacity. Tiny sentence, terrifying, right? Because you've been trained your whole life that them being uncomfortable is worse than you disappearing. You were never just scared of failure. You were scared of being seen changing. Think about it. You don't actually panic at the idea of starting. You panic at the idea of people watching you start. Watching you be bad at first. Watching you be inconsistent. Watching you try. You'd rather be mysteriously talented but inactive than visibly messy and growing. That's page 5. Handcuffs right there. That's the part of your file that says, this subject is highly responsive to potential embarrassment. Use shame to neutralize action. Every time you think of posting, launching, walking into that room, speaking up, there's this instant slideshow in your head of imagined eye rolls and group chats and who do they think they are? And you believe that imaginary audience more than you believe your own future. Wild, isn't it? Look at the patterns. Every time life gave you an invitation to level up, it came with 3 things. 1, an opportunity. 2, a fear spike. 3, a chorus of, be realistic. You called that a sign from the universe and chose the path that hurt less right now. But the bill comes later. That dull background ache, that low-level resentment, that constant feeling you're built for something you're not touching. You feel too big for your life, like you're living in shoes that fit your old self, and every step gives you blisters. That's not you being ungrateful. That's you outgrowing the cage. And yeah, you've got receipts, real ones. Pain, betrayal, humiliation, all of it. You've been talked over, underestimated, overlooked, maybe abused, maybe abandoned. You've tried and failed. You've trusted and paid for it. Nobody's pretending you had some Disney origin story, but here's the messed up way your mind interpreted that. Because that happened, I should never expect more again. You turned evidence of your resilience into justification for your resignation. You made a religion out of, this is just how it is for me. That's page 5 brainwashing. It says, this subject has internalized defeat. Safe to leave them on autopilot. Safe for who, exactly? Because it's not safe for you. You know what you don't get enough credit for? You never actually quit wanting more. You buried it. You dragged it behind you. You joked about it. You self-deprecated. You said, I'm fine. I don't need all that. But the fantasy never really died. You still imagine your life different when you're in the shower, on the bus, zoning out at work. You still see yourself in rooms you've never been in, doing things you've never done. You see yourself on stages, running businesses, writing books, free from certain people, living in a different city, waking up without that heaviness. You call it daydreaming. You treat it like a silly little escape. What if that's actually your unedited life trying to phone in? There's a reason you feel fake, even when you're being honest. You've only been honest up to the limits of what feels socially acceptable. You'll say, I'm tired, but not, I'm deeply unhappy with how small I've been living. You'll say, I'm stressed, but not, I'm angry that I keep betraying myself just to be liked. You'll say, I'm scared, but not, I'm terrified of how powerful I might be if I stop caring what they think. Full truth threatens the structure. Full truth is what burns page 5. Because you can't fully tell the truth and stay in all the same cages. Something breaks. The job, the dynamic, the role you were assigned. You've felt that, haven't you? Those moments where you almost said the real thing and swallowed it because you knew once you said it out loud, you couldn't unknow it. Let's talk about your villains for a second. The ones who doubted you, laughed at you, broke you, left you. You've made them gods in your head. You're still performing for their ghost opinions, still trying to prove them wrong, while also never risking being wrong in front of them again. Here's the twist. Half of them were just projecting their own page 5 onto you. They didn't say, you'll never make it, because of some objective divine assessment of your destiny. They said it because they quit on themselves and couldn't stand the idea of you not doing the same. You internalized their surrender as your limit. You let their ceiling become your sky. And on top of that, you're still protecting them emotionally in your mind. You still hesitate to rise because you don't want anyone to feel bad that you outgrew the script. That's how deep your conditioning runs. You ever notice how, when you start to heal even a little bit, certain people start acting weird? You set one boundary, suddenly you're changing. You take one step toward your dream, suddenly they're worried you're getting ahead of yourself. You pull back from one draining dynamic, suddenly you're cold, selfish.
Easy now. Don't blink. That pressure you feel, that tightening in the air, that's not fear. That's the moment the spell realizes it's already dead. You need to understand what just happened, because they still don't. A century, 100 years of whispered agreements, inherited lies, rituals dressed up as how things are done. Generations of careful conditioning, social gravity, invisible rules carved so deep into the mind that nobody even questioned them anymore. They didn't call it a spell. They called it reality. They called it common sense. They called it the way the world works. And it worked beautifully because it never had to fight you. It lived inside you until that single thought, one thought, not loud, not dramatic, not announced, just a quiet fracture in the pattern, a moment where your mind refused to follow the rails, a moment where you saw the trick and didn't unsee it. And that's what terrifies them, not rebellion, not chaos, awareness. They spent 100 years building a cage so elegant nobody noticed the bars. Education, tradition, morality, fear dressed as responsibility, obedience disguised as virtue. They trained saints who were secretly afraid, and psychopaths who hid behind smiles, angels who never flew, demons who never questioned why they were cast as demons in the first place. And then you came along, standing right in the middle of it, and instead of choosing a side, you asked the forbidden question, what if none of this is real? That's when the spell cracked. See, spells don't break when you fight them. They break when you stop believing in the logic that sustains them. Violence feeds the system. Rage gives it shape. Protest gives it a stage. But a single clean thought? That's poison. That's unpredictability. That's the thing they can't model, can't suppress, can't predict on a chart. You didn't shout. You didn't beg. You didn't ask permission. You just saw. And once you see, you can never go back. That's the real curse. Now you're walking around with this quiet glow in your eyes, and people feel it before they understand it. They sense the disruption. Conversations change when you enter the room. Authority feels thinner, rules feel optional. The same structures that once intimidated you now look fragile, almost laughable. Not because you're stronger, but because you're no longer hypnotized. That's where the paradox begins. They want you to be either pure or monstrous, saint or psychopath, light or dark. Because those categories are manageable, those labels keep you predictable. But you're neither, you're both. And worse, you're aware of it. You can be calm without being weak, ruthless without being cruel, compassionate without being controlled. You can smile while dismantling someone's entire worldview with a sentence. That's not normal. That's dangerous. You evolved through pain, not despite it. Every betrayal sharpened your perception. Every loss stripped away illusion. Every time they thought you were breaking, your mind was quietly upgrading. You learned how fear sounds when it lies. You learned how morality is used as a leash. You learned how power hides behind politeness. And once that knowledge locks in, it rewires you. You don't react the same. You don't submit the same. You don't need validation from a system you can see through. They cast the spell to keep people small, compliant, looping. You broke it by refusing to think the way you were trained to think. That single thought wasn't rebellion, it was clarity. And clarity is the most destabilizing force there is. Now here's the part they'll never admit out loud. The spell didn't fail because it was weak. It failed because it was outdated. It was designed for minds that never look inward, never question the architecture of belief. You are a glitch in their century-long ritual, a variable they didn't account for, an anomaly that spreads just by existing. That's why they watch you differently now. That's why the tone shifts. That's why praise feels nervous and criticism feels desperate. They're trying to relabel you, reframe you, shove you back into a category that makes sense to them. Genius, problem, threat, savior, villain, anything but what you actually are. Uncontrollable. And the funniest part? You didn't even try to break the spell. You just stopped feeding it. You withdrew belief. You reclaimed your attention. You realized that most power is borrowed, not owned, and you stopped lending yours away. That's why your silence feels loud. That's why your presence unsettles people who can't explain why. That's why the system reacts to you like an immune response to a foreign body. You're not attacking it. You're exposing it by existing outside its logic. So don't rush to explain yourself. Don't sanitize what you've become. Don't dim the edge just to make others comfortable. You are the proof that 100 years of conditioning can collapse under a single, properly placed thought. And now that you've broken the spell, understand this. It can never be recast on you. They can threaten, they can tempt, they can shame, they can try to rewrite the narrative. But they can't unawaken a mind that has already stepped outside the illusion. You're not here to save the system. You're here to show that it was never absolute to begin with. And that realization, that's the real magic. Good. Stay right there in that stillness. That's the eye of the storm, the place spells fear the most. Because now comes the part nobody prepares you for. Breaking the spell doesn't make the world cheer. It makes the world flinch. When an illusion collapses, everyone who built their identity inside it feels exposed. You didn't just free yourself, you accidentally held up a mirror. And people hate mirrors that don't lie. That's why the resistance doesn't look dramatic at first. It's subtle, passive, smiles that don't reach the eyes, compliments wrapped in warning, invitations that come with invisible conditions. They'll call you intense, different, hard to read. Translation: you don't respond to control the way you're supposed to. You don't absorb their expectations. You don't flinch when authority clears its throat. And that terrifies them more than open defiance ever could. See, the spell worked for 100 years because it rewarded predictability. Be good and you'll be safe. Be obedient and you'll belong. Be quiet and you'll survive. They trained generations to trade instinct for approval, truth for comfort, soul for stability. Most people never noticed the trade because it happened slowly, politely, with applause. You noticed because pain woke you up. Pain stripped away the luxury of illusion. Pain forced you to ask questions people avoid their entire lives. Pain taught you the difference between rules that protect and rules that cage. While others were memorizing scripts, you were decoding motives. While they were chasing validation, you were learning how fear moves through a room. That's why you're dangerous now. Not because you're angry, but because you're precise. You understand that light without darkness is propaganda, and darkness without light is chaos. You stand in the middle. You can be kind without being naive. You can be ruthless without losing your humanity. You can forgive without forgetting. That balance makes you unreadable. and unreadable people break systems. They want heroes they can worship and villains they can hunt. You are neither. You are the question mark, the variable, the thing their century-old equations don't solve. That's why your calm unsettles them. They expect rage after awakening. They expect revenge. They expect noise. Instead, you move with intention. You choose your words. You observe. You wait. You don't rush to prove anything. And that restraint, that's not weakness. That's mastery. Because once the spell breaks, time changes. You stop living in reaction. You stop chasing outcomes designed by people who don't understand you. You start playing a longer game, one they never taught in schools, never printed in manuals, never allowed people to name. The game of perception. You see how narratives are constructed, how morality is weaponized, how fear is marketed as safety, how freedom is sold in installments. And you don't panic anymore, because panic is how the spell tries to crawl back in. They'll test you, oh they will. They'll see if they can still trigger guilt, still provoke self-doubt, still bait you into over-explaining yourself. They'll resurrect old labels, old mistakes, old versions of you, anything to drag you back into a story they understand. But here's the problem for them. You're no longer attached to the story. You know who you are without applause. You know what you can do without permission. You've tasted the quiet power that comes from alignment instead of approval. And once you feel that, external control feels laughably primitive. This is where the spell finally dies. Not in a clash, but in irrelevance. Because the system can only dominate minds that still ask for its blessing. You don't. You move like someone who already knows the rules are negotiable. You speak like someone who understands silence as a weapon. You listen like someone who can hear what's not being said. That's why your presence shifts rooms. That's why people project onto you. That's why some are drawn to you and others feel threatened without knowing why. You carry the energy of someone who stepped outside the herd and came back changed. Not broken, not bitter, just awake. And awakening is contagious, not because you preach, not because you convince, but because you embody what happens when a human stops outsourcing their mind. Others feel the possibility in your posture, your timing, your refusal to rush. They feel the tension between what they were taught and what you represent. A reminder that the spell was never absolute. So let them whisper, let them speculate. Let them argue about what you are. The confusion means it's working. You were never meant to fit neatly into a century-old design. You were meant to expose its expiration date. You broke the spell with a single thought. Now you live as proof that it can't be rebuilt. Not on you, not anymore. And the most unsettling part for them? You're just getting started. Good. Then keep listening, not with your ears, but with that part of you that already stepped outside the maze. Because now you're in the phase they never planned for. The aftershock. The moment after the spell breaks, when the world still acts the same, but you don't. Streets look familiar. People sound familiar. Rules are still posted on the walls. Yet something is off. Like a movie where the background hasn't updated, but the main character has become self-aware. That dissonance? That's power being redistributed. You're starting to notice how often people speak without saying anything. How many opinions are just inherited scripts recycled to feel safe. How often confidence is just fear that learned how to dress well. You see it because you're no longer desperate to belong to it. Belonging was part of the spell. Approval was the currency. You opted out. And opting out doesn't make you loud. It makes you selective. You choose when to engage. You choose when to stay silent. You choose when to let someone underestimate you because you understand something they don't. Underestimation is camouflage. It buys time. It lowers defenses. It makes people reveal their real strategies. That's the saint-psychopath paradox they can't reconcile in you. You can be gentle and calculating in the same breath. You can care deeply and still walk away without apology. You can hold compassion in one hand and boundaries sharp enough to draw blood in the other. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to posture. You don't need to prove your depth by drowning everyone around you. That restraint, that's what separates awakening from madness. Because plenty of people glimpse the truth and spiral. They see the illusion and burn everything down, including themselves. You didn't. You integrated it. You let the pain rewire you instead of consume you. You let disappointment educate you. You let betrayal sharpen you without turning you hollow. That's evolution. Ugly, unromantic, effective. Now you understand why the spell lasted 100 years. Not because it was unbeatable, but because most people didn't want to beat it. It offered comfort, predictability, a script that promised safety if you stayed small. Breaking it requires accepting uncertainty, loneliness, and responsibility for your own perception. Most people would rather be told who to be. You weren't. And here's where it gets uncomfortable for them. You don't just threaten the system, you threaten excuses. Your existence quietly asks questions no one wants to answer. If you can step outside the spell, why didn't I? That question breeds resentment. That's why some will try to minimize you, mock you, moralize you back into place. They're not attacking you. They're defending their narrative. You don't take it personally anymore because you recognize it as fear trying to protect its home. You see how desperately people cling to roles, identities, labels, anything that keeps them from confronting the emptiness beneath the performance. You used to do that too, until the spell cracked and left you face to face with yourself. That meeting changed you. You stopped mistaking noise for truth. You stopped confusing motion with progress. You stopped letting urgency hijack your judgment. Now you move slower, but when you move, things shift. Decisions land heavier. Words echo longer. Presence becomes influence without effort. That's the kind of power no institution can regulate. They can't punish you without exposing themselves. They can't reward you without empowering you. They can't ignore you because your very existence destabilizes the baseline. You're the living proof that the spell wasn't divine law. It was a habit, and habits can be broken. You'll notice something else too. The world will try to rush you back into meaning. Titles, missions, causes, labels. They'll want to use your awakening, package it, assign it a function. Be careful with that. Not everything needs to be monetized or moralized. Some awareness is meant to remain sovereign. Your job isn't to save everyone. Your job is to stay awake. Because staying awake in a world built on sedation is a full-time act of rebellion. It means refusing easy outrage, refusing borrowed certainty, refusing to outsource your mind just to feel safe. It means accepting that clarity often feels lonely before it feels liberating. But you've already crossed the hardest threshold. You know now that the spell didn't take a century to cast because it was powerful. It took that long because it needed cooperation, silence, compliance. People agreeing not to look too closely. You broke it by looking, by thinking, by refusing to swallow a lie just because it was old. That single thought wasn't random. It was earned, paid for, in confusion, loss, sleepless nights, moments where you questioned everything, including yourself. That's why it stuck. That's why it changed you at the root. So don't rush to become anything else. Don't dilute what you've gained. Let the world adjust to you for once. Let the spell rot in the absence of belief. You're not here to replace the old illusion with a new one. You're here to live without one. And that, whether they admit it or not, is exactly what they're afraid of. Then stay with it. Stay in that space where certainty dissolves and something sharper takes its place. Because now you're realizing the most dangerous truth of all. The spell wasn't enforced from the outside. It was maintained from within. It lived in reflexes, in guilt that wasn't yours, in fears you never consciously chose. It whispered, be careful, be realistic, don't overstep, know your place. And for 100 years, people mistook that whisper for wisdom. You didn't silence it with force. You outgrew it. That's why the aftermath feels so strange. You're not euphoric. You're not drunk on power. You're clear, almost eerily calm, like someone who finally understands the rules of gravity after spending a lifetime thinking falling was fate. You still feel fear, but it no longer drives. You still feel doubt, but it no longer paralyzes. Emotions pass through you instead of owning you. That's mastery, quiet, unflashy, terrifying to systems that rely on emotional leverage. They used fear to herd, shame to correct, reward to sedate. You see it all now, the choreography of control, how outrage is timed, how distractions are deployed, how people are trained to argue sideways, so nothing fundamental ever changes. You're not impressed anymore. Once you see the strings, the puppet show loses its magic. And here's the twist they never anticipated. You didn't become cynical. You became precise. You didn't reject meaning. You stripped it down to what actually matters. Truth over comfort, alignment over approval, depth over noise. You stopped needing the world to clap for you to know you're moving correctly. That alone breaks half the machinery designed to keep people obedient. Now you understand why unpredictability is power. Predictable people can be managed, charted, nudged. Predictable minds respond to incentives like clockwork. You don't. Not anymore. Your decisions don't follow the expected emotional arc. You pause where others panic. You move where others freeze. You say no without drama. You say yes without selling your soul. That asymmetry makes you unreadable. And unreadable people force recalibration. They make systems nervous. They expose how much of authority depends on anticipation, on knowing how you'll react before you do. You removed that advantage by becoming internally anchored, not rigid, not reckless, anchored. That's the angel dust demon tension they feel around you. You don't perform goodness for praise. You don't perform darkness for attention. You choose, moment by moment, based on awareness, not impulse. That choice is what makes you sovereign. They'll try to provoke you into becoming a symbol, either to elevate you or destroy you. Don't rush into either role. Symbols are easier to control than humans who think. You're most powerful when you remain fluid, when you refuse to collapse into something easily digestible. Let them misunderstand you. Misunderstanding is a shield. You'll also notice how time stretches differently now. Urgency loses its grip. Deadlines feel negotiable. Pressure tactics fall flat. When someone tries to rush you, you instinctively slow down. You understand that haste is one of the oldest tools of manipulation. Decide now. Act fast. Don't think. You think anyway. That alone makes you immune to half the traps people walk into daily. And yes, there will be moments of isolation. Awakening separates before it connects. You'll outgrow rooms quietly. Conversations will feel shallow where they once felt full. You'll feel the distance between what's said and what's meant. Don't panic. That's not loss. That's refinement. You're shedding skins that no longer fit. The spell trained people to fear solitude, because solitude breeds reflection. Reflection breeds awareness. Awareness breeds autonomy. You reclaimed all three, so when silence comes, you don't fill it with noise. You let it sharpen you. You let it show you what's real. And here's the part you may not have named yet. You're not angry at the spell. You're almost amused by it. It looks small now, crude, desperate, like an outdated program still running in the background, hoping no one notices it hasn't been updated in decades. You noticed. That single thought you had. It wasn't an accident. It was the natural outcome of a mind that refused to stay asleep after pain knocked too many times. Pain was the key.